The time is now for Canadian basketball. Have you guys been paying attention to what's been going on at the FIBA World Cup? I know you have. Canada is dominating. They finished the first round of play with a 3-0 record. And after a killer first round, as I record this, the Canadians' plus 111 point differential is the best in the tournament. 8 points better than the powerhouse USA team, who finished with a plus 103 point differential. What Canada is doing has been years in the making. Those in charge of the country's national team have been laying down a framework designed to create the high-quality roster that Canada will need both to make the Olympics and succeed once they get there. This is the Canadian team we've been waiting for. So in today's video, I'm breaking down what makes this squad so successful and what I see happening next. Welcome back to the Half Court Report. My name is Troy. Be sure you click the thumbs up button on this video and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second and it's a huge help in getting this content out in front of more people. So I would appreciate your support in growing the channel. Oh, Canada. Let's talk about this awesome team. And also be sure to stick around until the end of the video to hear what I think will be the key to Canada winning it all. But yeah, it has been a long time coming for Canadian basketball fans. A lot of Americans don't know this, but basketball was actually invented by a Canadian in 1891. That was, of course, James Naismith out at the University of Kansas. Regardless, though, it was the United States that has spent decades dominating the sport. All the while, Canada's men's team has underperformed expectations on the world stage for years and years. All that despite its decent output of NBA players, its proximity to U.S. competition, and its status as a first world country with lots of money to invest in the sport. I guess all that cash was going to hockey, I don't know, but those days seem to be over. This year, Canada's team boasts 8 players who currently play or have played in the NBA. The credit for this team's success so far is spread out among many different players. Utah Jazz forward Kelly Olynyk is an underrated playmaker and player at the NBA level who shouldn't just be understood as a stretch big. And then new Houston Rockets signee Dillon has an on-court impact that far outpaces his on-court antics. As a Grizzlies fan, I watched him for years, and I love that he's got that dog in him, night in and night out. RJ Barrett is a vital piece for a successful New York Knicks team, and he has tremendous untapped upside, which he's showing on the World Cup stage. And then Oklahoma City Thunder wing Lou Dort is a brick wall and a perfect connective piece on this team. Definitely the best guy named Lou Gentz who's playing this summer. Am I right or am I right? And of course, I'm going to talk about SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. My man's name barely fits on his jersey, but he is so good. He's going to get some actual B-roll and not just a photo to zoom in on. SGA is continuing his stellar play from this past NBA season, and he is cementing himself in the discussion as one of the best point guards in the world. Remember, SGA took a leap in the NBA this past season. He was a first-time All-Star and was one of the top scorers in the league. But because Shai plays in Oklahoma City, along with Lou Dort, that's a pretty small market. So there might be some folks out there watching who aren't super familiar with his game. Well, let me fill you in, because SGA is one of 2 2023 All-NBA players in the FIBA tournament alongside Slovenia's Luka Doncic. I can't get over Shai's handles, his craftiness, his length, how he slithers into the lane. It's almost like he's taking another leap this summer. I can't wait to see how good he is when the next NBA season starts. And he is doing things with this Canadian team that we haven't seen since Steve Nash played for the country over 20 years ago. So even without a couple players from the last 2 NBA championship teams, I'm talking about Denver's Jamal Murray, who's a top 30 NBA player, and Warriors All-Star Andrew Wiggins, who's an amazing two-way wing. This feels momentous, what Canada has been doing, and I think the excitement is palpable. Dillon Brooks, never at a loss for words, said that this team is ready to put the world on notice. Okay, DB, we hear ya. Canada can qualify for the 2024 Olympics in Paris at this year's World Cup by being one of the top 2 finishing teams from the Americas. Assuming that the US takes one of those spots, Canada would need to edge out countries like Brazil, Mexico, and the Dominican Republic. Like Canada, the DR has been one of the best teams in the tournament too. Personally, as a fan, I think having a successful Canadian team is great for basketball as a whole. And I'm speaking as a guy from the US. The closest I've ever come to being in Canada is flying over it when I was leaving the Detroit airport. Well, that, and I was also a big fan of the Mountie in the WWF in the 90s, but seriously, I think this team could challenge the US for a gold medal. And I'm not just saying that to have a hot take. France, who was one of the teams that Canada beat, has NBA players Rudy Gobert, Evan Fournier, and Nicolas Batum. It was basically that same French team that beat the US in previous international competition. This Canada team that we're seeing right now is no fluke. So at the beginning of the video, I said I was going to give you what I think is the secret to Canada winning the whole darn thing. And you've heard it before. Offense wins games, defense wins championships. Well, it's kind of the same thing here. The perimeter defense of Dillon Brooks and Lou Dort is probably the best 1-2 punch of defense I've seen in international competition since the USA Dream Team in 1992. I know that Dort sat out due to injury as a precaution, but I'm not super worried about that. The physicality and grit that Brooks and Dort bring is a sight to behold. Both are elite perimeter defenders who aren't afraid to let it fly from deep. Both players have had similar career arcs so far. They went from near afterthoughts when entering the league to working their way up to become key starters. These guys have the chip on their collective shoulders that this Canadian team needs. This is the most stacked team in the world outside of the US. Canadian basketball has come a long way since Sharon Wright and Tony Massenberg. Jean Tabak, I see you too, bro. Split Croatia represent. And yeah, I wanted to show their pictures here, but Google basically just has old Raptors pics of Damon Stoudemire. So it is what it is. But that's what I think. But what do I know? I'm just a star-spangled banner singing, Ford truck driving, apple pie eating, no socialized medicine having American. So be sure to let me know what you think of Team Canada in the comments. Since you've watched this far, be sure to drop a like for the YouTube algorithm. Click that subscribe button too so you never miss another NBA video. I cover basically anything and everything basketball on this channel. And guys, I need these games to tide me over until the NBA season starts because I'm really curious on what the Warriors are going to do to fill out their remaining roster spots. The rumor is that a big name may be coming to the Bay. I actually did a whole video on it, so you got to check that out. Let me know what you think, and I'll catch you next time on the Half Court Report.